Hi, I'm Ashley. I was born a Jehovah's Witness and I left when I was around 20. I had a turbulent exit. I was disfellowshipped and shunned by my community, my friends, and the people that raised me in that community.
My name is Daniel. I was born and raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I'm third generation. But a little over 2 years ago, I disassociated and started to fade away from the cult. In doing that, I've lost my partner of 16 years, my mother, father, all of my friends and family and associates.
When I left, I didn't really have anyone supporting me. There was a community of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, but it wasn't what it is today. And I really was quite alone in my healing process. And now I'm super motivated to help other people who are leaving so that they have a better experience leaving and it's not as tough.
Leaving Bethel at the same time was very difficult because I came out of institutional living. And now how do you actually translate that into the real world? Well, that was a lot of struggle on my part. And that's where we're trying to create a safe place and a landing pad, kind of like an underground railroad for people to live a full, authentic, transparent life on the other side of a high demand religion.
You're listening to The Critical Thought, where we challenge our listeners to use critical thinking when examining the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Hi, this is Lady C.
And this is JT.
Welcome to The Critical Thought.
Today's episode welcomes two individuals along with a team that they pulled together to help people to make that transition when they're leaving the organization. And today's show, we look forward to them sharing with their experiences, their personal life experiences, as well as how they are putting together an organization or a team of people to help everyone who can make that transition out of the Jehovah's Witnesses. Daniel, Ashley, welcome to the show.
Hey, JT and Lady C, how y'all?
Good. Glad to have you here. Ashley, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having us. It's such a delight to be here.
All right.
And we're happy that you're here. And we really love your idea because, just like yourselves, we have encountered a lot of people that need assistance. And so we're so excited to share your information with our audience. And you want to kind of talk a little bit about why you decided to start this program? What drives you? What are you passionate about this project?
I think being in the ex-Jehovah's Witness community, seeing everyone's input and all of the voices there really shows how much support is needed. There are so many people who can help, but there hasn't really been much in terms of organized assistance for people. A lot of people do need that kind of therapeutic support that you can get from talking to other people maybe in your same situation or just people who understand what you're going through, because you can't really talk to people outside of the religion about it in a way that is as healing for you. So we want to provide actual tangible support to kind of add to that. So we're thinking monetary support, housing support, as well as just being a friend for people. So we're trying to grow this. We're starting, small. We have a small team of people, but we would like to get big enough to offer grants, maybe scholarships to people as well. So the motivation is really just seeing the need in the community. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think Ashley brings up a great point about community. When we're on TikTok or YouTube or all of these different nice social media accounts, and we're seeing people deconstruct from the Jehovah's Witnesses in real time, that really is just kind of a one-way ticket to the show. And so what we really want to do is, we have a contact form on our website. We can talk about that a little bit later. But when we've worked over about 75 cases so far. And what we've noticed is that people yearn for that sense of sharing their story. It's really great to see other people's story, but it really, when the rubber hits the road, is where you're able to have some sort of back and forth, interaction with another member that truly gets you. Because even in therapy, sometimes a therapist doesn't fully understand the cultic tactics and deconstructing people pleasing or, having to shorten your hand in some way. So a lot of what we're trying to do is just build Zoom meetups where people can share their story. We can hear other people and have kind of a real time connection. And also some of that is one-on-one telephone calls, text messages, emails. Again, that goes through our website and goes through our contact form.
So to me, it sounds like a group support group.
That's definitely a big part of it, for sure. Yeah, we want to have that tangible resources that we can dispense, but also we just want to be there to high five people in in-person meetups, to actually get on Zoom with people in a room of like 40 to 60 people and just hear kind of like a group meditation or a collective, how it unfolds. But then also just get on the phone with people and just hear them out. People get on the phone with us and they just talk almost without a breath for an hour, just telling their story for the first time. They have never told somebody. So that's really what we want to give a lot of people the opportunity to do.
That's excellent. That's one of the things that we find is that people have been a part of this organization for 10, 20, 30 years, and they've never told anyone how they actually felt. But could you share with the audience how you came up with the name that you have named your organization?
Liberati is a plural of the Latin word libertas, which means freedom or to break free. So it's just so fitting when you think about leaving a high control group, whether it's the Witnesses or another religion. You really do break free and you have a new sense of yourself and freedom. So it just feels so fitting for our organization.
I remember when we've talked before on other occasions, and I thought that was such a very fitting name for what you're trying to do. One of the things I will say, and we have often mentioned this, activism takes many different forms. And one of the things that we are seeing now is how the activism among so many former Jehovah's Witnesses is taking on more of a formal flair, where we're literally starting to address all types of angles that people's lives are impacted, because people's lives are just impacted in so many ways. And this is really a wonderful opportunity that you guys are presenting to help people, once again, in another aspect of how people have been impacted by this religion as well.
Do you want to share any cases or experiences that you've had thus far?
At this point, we've been in operation for over a year, but we've been public for a little over 2 months. And in those 2 months, we've had a lot of people come into the website and contact us through that means. And so we've actually handled and touched about over 75 cases. But some of the ones that have really stood out that we were able to actually raise funds for or assist individuals. The first one I'd like to talk about was a young man we'll call Andre. He still is, trying to keep his anonymity to himself, but he was, obviously we're all been part of a high control religion. So he was already in that structure, but then his parents were also very high controlling and tried to control every aspect of his life. They would take his phone away. They took his car away after he got disfellowshipped for apostasy. And so we raised up enough funds to be able to augment his personal savings to where he can start shopping for a personal car. So he can get back a little bit of that autonomy. Also through our network, we connected with people that had a job for him. And then also we found a place where he could live, have his own separate residence on someone's property. So in about a month, he lost his whole community. He's been locked down even further at home. But through the Liberati and just the Exjw community, we were able to, raise enough funds so he could start shopping for a car. He had a place to live. He has a new job. And then he can really start his own life and start to build out his community from there. So we're not trying to dictate what people do with their lives. We're just trying to help them on the other side. And again, kind of, ease that transition. But one that was really near and dear to my heart was because I was a Bethelite for so many years, over 7 years, lots of different locations. And when I left, I had a hard time. But we had a Bethelite recently that in sub-Saharan Africa that stepped away from it, Bethel, and he reached out to us, and he's stuck in between a rock and a hard place. His father and his whole father's side is Muslim, and they believe in Islamic beliefs, and because the rest of the family went to Jehovah's Witnesses some time ago, he has been shunned for well over a decade by his family on that side. And then as he's starting to wake up and realize, if I leave, I am going to lose that side of the family as well. His father stopped paying for his education, so he had about a middle school education, but he's really smart. He knows the indigenous languages. He worked in translation at Bethel. His English is great. He knows how to read, write, and communicate just naturally with it. And so we were able to raise up enough funds, and over the next couple of years, we're able to help him with housing and food, very basic necessities, because the American dollar can go crazy far, with some third world countries in sub-Saharan Africa. But also, he had a little bit of background in a technical trade. So there was a local, very cheap community college that were able to sponsor him. And so we reached out to this country, and we reached out to this community college, and we worked out a payment plan saying that we are a nonprofit from America, and we're trying to sponsor a local cult survivor. So in that way, that has been something that's really, really been fantastic, phenomenal for us to actually impact someone's life, where because at one point he went to Christianity, he was shunned by his father, and he wasn't able to have that opportunity of further educating himself throughout the rest of middle school or even high school. But yet he had the raw material to go on to be translating at Bethel. And then when he leaves and has left, he's going to lose his whole other side of the family. And as opposed to being stuck to go back to a small village and live with his mother, he actually has the ability now to get a good job in a tough job market, and to even open up his own business possibly. So those are a couple things. We can't do that, obviously, every single case, but there are some rare instances where we're going to be able to have the ability to help. And hopefully when we get our 501(c) in the next 4 to 6 months, we can apply for grants like Ashley had mentioned, and award more scholarships or have more funds available to help other individuals. So that's really kind of a couple of nice things in a nutshell that we've been very proud of recently.
Wow, you've captured my heart on that one. It's like,
Yeah.
that is so touching. That story just resonates, and so many people. I think that's a real extreme case of leaving the religion and knowing that you're being shunned on the Jehovah's Witness side and being shunned on the Muslim side because of Christianity. That is a very interesting case.
Yeah. One of the things that you mentioned, Daniel, I think, and you and I both are familiar with this, is that for people who join the Jehovah's Witnesses and pursue the Watchtower's version of a wonderful career, when they leave, oh my goodness. I mean, people who are in quote unquote full-time service, they struggle probably the hardest because they have put nothing in place at all. Bethelites, circuit overseers, people who just regular pioneer and never, had a little part-time job, just enough to make it. And so when these people leave, as Ashley and Lady C had mentioned, they really need a soft landing as much as possible, because it's a challenge. It really is.
It is. Now, what is the current status of your volunteer program, and where are you most in need of support?
So we do need volunteers. You can go right on our website, go to the homepage, scroll down to the contact us spot, and fill in your information to apply to be a volunteer.
To access the website, go to theliberati.org. That's TheLiberati.org.
We are still developing our volunteer program, but we're accepting and reviewing applications. So please do, if you're interested in helping offer support, please do fill out that form. In addition to volunteering to speak with people and handle cases, we are looking for monetary support. So to make a donation to our cause, you can scroll down even further and there's a PayPal link. So we also do subscriptions. You can sign up to do even just $5 a month. That would help us a lot. And then beyond the support and the monetary donations, we are looking for people with resources that we can help offer folks. So if you have any type of housing that you could offer temporarily to folks who are leaving, or any other resource that you think would be beneficial to those folks, do let us know. Please fill out the contact form, reach out to us, let us know what you have to offer. Because when you think about folks leaving, some people really have nothing. Some people are living with their Jehovah's Witness parents or other Jehovah's Witnesses. So if they leave or if they're disfellowshipped, they lose their housing. Same with employment. Some folks are working for Jehovah's Witnesses, or to your earlier point, JT, some folks never had a real job in the real world, or they were pioneering, so they only worked part-time. These folks may not have any money saved up to help them leave. So we really need everything, all hands on deck. So whatever you have to offer, please let us know.
Yeah, and if I could just piggyback on that another time, I think the ones that we really are looking for housing, young ones that are leaving, 18, 19 years old, again, don't have that life experience, a person in an abusive situation. Think about housewives that need to leave with kids. So, that separate residence is going to be really crucial for them. But then also, like she said, Bethelites, people that leave, people that really don't have that real world experience to hit the rubber where it meets the road. So if you could think about those isolated housing units, that would be great. And we can, of course, talk about how that actually translates between two different parties. We just want to put people together to be able to figure it out.
So do you want to kind of like talk about your experience and just tell a little bit about yourself?
So yeah, I grew up a Jehovah's Witness. I always struggled with the religion. I was very much a people pleaser and a perfectionist, even as a young kid. And it's really hard. It's really hard to be a witness and to try to live up to their idea of perfection. I feel like there's always something that I was disappointed with in terms of my living up to those standards. I wasn't going out in service enough, or I missed a meeting. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen to me because I missed a meeting? I feel like growing up in the religion, there's always that stress, which, I think is so unfair to put on children. But I worried about myself. I worried about my parents if they missed a meeting or if they weren't going out in service enough. And I always struggled with that. I struggled with relationships with kids at school or neighbors or, other worldly people that I had met in the community around me, and not being able to have relationships with those people who I could see were really great people. That to me, that was always a sticking point for me, and that always bothered me. So I struggled throughout my whole tenure as a witness. My teens was a little more turbulent. Just being a teenager anyway is rough, but being a teenager as a Jehovah's Witness has its own set of struggles. So I was married when I was 18. As a lot of us do, we get married young. That was really one of the biggest goals that I could have as a Jehovah's Witness woman. So I think I thought that when I was married, things would be great, that I would feel stronger in my faith. And that was really the pinnacle for me as a witness. And I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy being a Jehovah's Witness at that point. 18, 19, I was married. I wasn't happy. And so I decided to leave, and I was disfellowshipped. And after that, I'd struggled my whole life with the witnesses, but leaving the witnesses was harder. It was just as hard, if not harder, than being a Jehovah's Witness, because, as you don't develop skills to survive in the real world as a Jehovah's Witness. I had the skills to be a witness, not the skills to be in the real world. And I was dealing with a crisis of faith, losing my community, and not having any skills really to survive on the outside. It took me so long to heal because I was really doing it by myself as well. This was, 13 years ago. So there was a community, but I don't think it was as strong as it is today. And nor did I have the drive or the motivation to really seek out support. So that's one thing that I think is super important for ex-witnesses is I want it to be really easy for folks. I want folks to, if they feel like they need support, I want them to be able to just very easily find it. So I think that's the biggest motivating factor for me is how much I struggled when I left. I was so miserable. I was so depressed for so long. And it took me a long time to really pick myself up out of that. But I am so thankful that I was able to do that. And really what helped me the most was when I finally dove deep into the community. I just forever will be so grateful for other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses because it just the feeling of validation, knowing that yes, what I went through was uncommon. It was hard. It was a struggle, and other people have been there. Other people have made it through, and we can help support each other. That's what really did it for me. And I feel a sense of obligation to those who are leaving. And I feel just so much empathy for people who are leaving and struggling like I did. I want to be there for people. I want people to feel good about leaving and not have a hard a time as I did. So so I'm so proud of the Liberati. I'm so proud of all of my team members, Daniel and you too, jtladycee and JT, for giving back to the community and giving it your all, so much time and effort, and it really makes a difference.
I was born and raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I'm a third generation. And so when you're born in, you're programmed, conditioned from birth, and you don't know any better. It's completely inundated everywhere around you. My family members on both sides, even depth, with aunts and uncles and everyone else, cousins and nephews, are Jehovah's Witnesses. So your role models are also obviously Jehovah's Witnesses. Your grandfather was an elder, pioneer. So you try to reach out for those things. So I was 100% in, but the first couple of things early in life that just started to get me to question, funny enough, the first thing was dinosaurs. Everything that the Jehovah's Witnesses had said about dinosaurs just didn't add up for me. I liked watching these little kid-based documentaries as a child that talked about archaeology and digging up bones. And I just thought, yeah, that doesn't make sense, but we'll just throw that away. Then the next deep things that hurt were the generations prophecy, the iron and the clay, the new Bible. And it just kind of felt like year after year, there was something else that just didn't feel right. It started to feel gross hanging on my shoulders. And then, but you try to, there's that sunken cost fallacy or Pascal's wager where you're just thinking, well, I can't leave everyone behind. So if I just dive deeper, if I become an elder, there's some sort of next level to all this. And then I'm, blessed with Jehovah's blessing. And I don't think those thoughts. So when I went to Bethel, I saw and found another couple of things that as I was backing away from the Jehovah's Witnesses, started to question my belief about the Bible, the flood account, whether it's taken literally or allegorically, the specificity of it just doesn't add up to me. Personally, the Tower of Babel, Earth's population tied to that, or how language came about, doesn't seem like something, whether it's literal or allegoric, also makes sense, even in its place in the Bible. Contradictions of the Bible, I started to have this hunch that I believed in evolution. That seemed to make more sense. But the things that, those were all Jehovah's Witness based or Christianity based. But the thing that really broke my heart was the people element. When I went to Bethel, I was fortunate to work with some amazing people who I still love today, good friends. But when you leave, you leave encyclopedia amount of inside jokes and stories and context and nuance to your own life. But a couple of things that I saw at Bethel kind of sealed the deal for me. but then you're trapped. And so one of the things was, and Bethelites will commonly know this, it's who you know is how you grow. And so you saw people advance in the organization, or decisions and memos go back and forth within departments and within branch committee or governing body committees, where it was just very bureaucratic. It was very man-made, very political. One in particular, without going into all the details, was I worked in the broadcasting department for a number of years, and then I moved over to the hospital information department, works with the blood issue, HLCs, and other branches around the world. And looking back at old memos, I could see that the HIS, Hospital Information Services, had a doctor. I don't want to name the name, but he wrote a 9-page memo to Jairus and Company of the governing body to say, where is the line in which Jehovah's Witnesses can accept and cannot accept blood transfusions or blood products? And what I saw in that memo was the doctor was really heavily leading towards a more open and humanitarian view of the blood doctrine. It was like, it really doesn't matter. No one gives whole blood anymore. So if we were to say, don't take whole blood or don't eat blood sausage, things that aren't properly bled, then it should be okay. But he also, just like the governing body likes in their memos, they like options. They like 2 or 3 options. And so he gave 3 options, and they chose the most conservative. Just arbitrarily, they just said, okay, well, I'm sorry, not the most conservative. They chose the middle one because they felt like that was the most balanced for whatever reason. And so for me, I knew it's really not directed by some sort of Holy Spirit or some sort of deep, intimate knowledge of scripture and theology. It's just like Rutherford. He was great at branding and creating this whole new Christianity movement. So Jairus and Company did the same thing. It was like, this will further divide us from Christianity and make us stand out and make us seem like we're a little bit more noble without overly burdening our members. But something I remember on the memo back was, it should be a sacrifice. And that it disgusted me, because I worked cases where young mothers would bleed out, and you would lose the mother because she wouldn't take some sort of hemostatic agent or a pharmacological agent that could protect her. I remember losing teenagers because of Hodgkin's lymphoma or other types of blood cancers or blood issues, that if they could just get through this crisis with 1 or 2 transfusions, which ultimately is not the best case, but it's the only thing that they can do, they would keep living. You know, we've lost many people for something that men in New York in baggy suits say, this is what we should do, and it should be a sacrifice. And so I think, to me, but yeah, I mean, so once those kind of things happen to you, once you lose faith in the JWs, the Bible, and then the human element of the organization, then you're just trapped with the emotional manipulation of, should I stay in for my partner of 16 years, my mother? And at one point, when I left Bethel and life was about to begin on the other side, we had a lot of conversations, and these ideas come out. And so you just think, this is the organic way. If I don't take my stand now, I could end up being 75 and looking back at my life and said, I could have left at 34. And so I just thought, I'm going to disassociate. And unfortunately, I'm going to see and feel the experience of the shunning process. And I think it has been, like Ashley said, the worst thing that I've ever had to live and that I will ever have to live. I am not invincible, but I feel invincible. I've lived through the worst of life, and I'm okay. And I want to help people know that earlier rather than later. And so if we can grab somebody as they choose to leave, where again, we're not trying to draw people out, but if we grab people when they choose to leave and say, hey, it's okay. I know you have a lot of the fear of the unknown, but life gets better. It gets a little bad, really bad, the worst, and then it just gets exponentially better. So we want to be there for that process and be a resource for people and help them find a quick way to a successful life.
It's also not even where it ends too, because that is such a black and white case of someone actually losing their life, right? But that's the worst. But think about how so many people lose their lives in a more figurative sense, where they have just poured everything they had into the organization and have no life outside of it and never get to enjoy life, which is so sad, because all we know is that we have this one life, and you spend it being miserable and unhappy in a cult and never really understanding what life's about. So sad.
So now the Liberati is going to do a call to action about how you can, feel comfortable in being part of their group as you start to heal from this religion.
For those who are thinking of leaving, we know what you're going through. We know and believe that leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses does not make you a bad person. And we know that you have a good heart. It's okay to live your life the way that you want to and to believe what you want to believe. If you feel stuck, just know that you can do this. We've all done it. JT, Lady C, Daniel, me, and the rest of our team on the Liberati, we've been through it. So please do lean on the ex-witness community when you need support, and reach out to the Liberati right through that contact form on our website if you would like support from a familiar face. We keep everything confidential, and your safety is our top priority. And as Daniel mentioned earlier, life really does get better, and you deserve to be happy.
When you guys have y'all in-person meetups, how is that done? Is that done in like restaurants or hotels or at your location 77 Sands? I mean, how do y'all guys? Because I know y'all do the online Zoom, but if y'all do like an in-person, how would that be handled?
There's tons of people, in the New York area, or that come up on the PATH train or whatever, and they go to beer gardens, they do walking tours, they go to a pizza place. So it's kind of been, or they go to like Brooklyn Bridge Park and they just have a big old picnic. Ashley's done one. Ashley, what have you done locally to your area?
Yeah, I have a group in Charlotte on meetup.com. We have 50 members now, which is amazing. So it has been a struggle to find venues that can accommodate a large group of people, but I've found success at breweries. I think I've done 3 or 4 meetups so far this year. And yeah, the breweries are good because they have those big long tables. And it's good. I don't do, I've been to so many meetups in the past that other people put on. And sometimes folks will want to organize it. Like I went to one regularly for a while that was just like a book study. Like it was triggering because it was like a book study. He had chairs in a circle and we'd all sit there. So I don't like pressure people to share anything. I don't ask them. I don't go around the table and say, share your name and whatever. I just make it really informal so that people can just show up and they don't feel like they have to share. Because I think a lot of people are so like maybe shy, but also just wanting to observe and not participate right away. It's a lot of pressure.
Well, Ashley, Daniel, we are definitely glad that you guys were able to stop by, share what your experience, share what your projects are, and whatever little that we can do here at Critical Thinkers to help you guys move this project forward to help more people. As we've always said, activism takes many different forms, shapes, and fashions, and this is another avenue that's been opened up. So this has been JT, and thank you for Critical Thinkers and being on our show.
To access the website, go to theliberati.org. That's THELIBERATI.org.
This program was sponsored by Critical Thinkers.